So, I want you to picture someone for a second.
Okay.
It might be a colleague or maybe a family member. Honestly, it might even be the face you see in the mirror every morning. But picture the strongest person in the room.
Right.
You know, the architect, the strategist.
One person who, if they took a single day off, the whole operation would just arguably collapse.
Exactly. The load-bearing human.
Yeah.
And here is the paradox we're wrestling with today for this deep dive. Why is that person, the one holding up the ceiling, often the one who is most desperately starved for care?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the kicker. Why is it that when you try to give them that care, they often treat it like a threat?
It's a massive contradiction
Yeah.
because we have this assumption that strength just sort of generates its own fuel.
Right. Like if you're capable of holding up the world, you must be made of stone.
Exactly. You don't need maintenance. But the stack of notes we have today argues the exact opposite.
We're diving deep into a really fascinating psychological breakdown of a relationship that I think a lot of you know, but maybe haven't looked at through this specific lens.
Yeah, this is a totally different angle.
We're talking about Bonnibel Bubblegum and Marceline the Vampire Queen from Adventure Time.
And listen, if you're listening to this and thinking, wait, are we analyzing a cartoon about a stretching dog in a candy kingdom?
Bear with us.
Yeah, stick with us. Because the source material we're working with today treats these two as perfect case studies for a universal psychological dynamic.
Right.
It's not really about the cartoon, it's about the archetypes they represent.
And the main archetype the source focuses on is something called the primordial mother.
Yes.
Which, I have to be honest, when I first saw that in the documents, I kind of rolled my eyes.
I did too.
It sounds so ancient or
Right.
biological, like a nature documentary or something.
It does have that vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It sounds super heavy. But the analysis is really careful to make a distinction here right off the bat. When it calls Bonnibel the primordial mother, it isn't talking about biology at all.
Yep.
It's talking about a function, a role within a system.
So before we get into the weeds, what is the actual mission for this deep dive?
Yeah.
What are we trying to extract for you all listening?
We're trying to understand the hidden cost of being the stabilizer.
Mm-hmm.
We want to dismantle the idea that being the strong one makes you immune to needing care.
Right.
And we're going to look at how true intimacy isn't about power dynamics like who's stronger, who's older. It's about finding a place where you can just stop performing.
Performing competence. That phrase is highlighted like 3 times in my notes.
It's like a great phrase.
I feel like that's going to be the anchor of this whole conversation.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
But let's go back to your initial reaction to the primordial mother label. You said it sounded like endless energy.
Yeah. I mean, if you're primordial, you're like a force of nature, right?
Yeah.
The ocean doesn't take a nap. Gravity doesn't need a coffee break. And looking at Bonnibel in the context of the show, she's running a kingdom. She's doing cutting-edge science. She's handling diplomacy with wizards.
She's doing everything.
She just seems to have an infinite tank.
And that is the trap. The source material calls this the illusion of immunity.
Wow, illusion of immunity.
Yeah, we see the output, the constant leadership, the rapid-fire problem-solving, and we assume the machine just doesn't have an off switch.
Because she never turns it off.
Exactly. But the text argues that this archetype describes a job, not a superpower.
Okay, let's dig into that job then.
Yeah.
The text calls her the architect and the strategist.
Right. So think about the cognitive load of being an architect.
Okay.
You aren't just living in a house. You are constantly aware of the structural integrity of the walls.
Right. You know where the wiring is fraying.
You know which pipe is about to burst. The text says she regulates environments and protects systems.
That sounds absolutely exhausting.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, imagine being a server administrator for a massive global company.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just log off. You log off, the data stops flowing.
If that's a really great analogy, it's a state of permanent hypervigilance. The analysis points out that Bonnibel plans 10 moves ahead.
Which is great for chess,
Yeah,
but terrible for trying to relax on a Sunday afternoon.
exactly. If you're planning 10 moves ahead, you are never in the present. You're living in the future.
Solving problems that haven't even happened yet.
Right. And the text has this brilliant but slightly terrifying line. It says, she carries the responsibility before anyone else feels the weight of it.
That's a very specific type of anxiety, isn't it?
Totally.
It's not fixing a leak. It's worrying about a pipe bursting 3 years from now because you saw a tiny rust spot.
Precisely. It's preemptive suffering. You are suffering the consequences of a disaster that is entirely theoretical.
Wow.
And here is where we get to the hidden cost. The source material states bluntly that containment requires energy.
Containment requires energy.
Yes, if you are the container for everyone else's safety, whether that's for an entire candy kingdom or just for your own family, you are burning calories just keeping the walls up.
And eventually you have to run out of fuel. You
Right.
can't run the server on 100% CPU forever.
You don't just run out, though. You start to cannibalize yourself.
Oof.
The text uses a really visceral phrase to describe the result of this. It calls it an internal starvation of softness.
Internal starvation of softness. Man,
Right.
that really paints a picture.
It does.
It's not just saying, oh, I'm tired. It's saying I'm malnourished.
Exactly. It implies a lack of essential nutrients, emotional malnutrition.
It suggests that while she's feeding everyone else, providing structure safety answers, she is slowly starving herself of the very thing she provides.
Right.
She's the chef who cooks the banquet but never eats.
And the problem is she thinks she can't eat.
Right.
The text points out that leadership requires constant awareness. If you're Bonnibel, there is never a single moment where you can just drift. You cannot turn off the radar.
Because if she turns off the radar, the candy people explode, or the zombies get in, or the economy crashes.
Or at least that's the narrative she's built for herself. The quote from the source is, "Even the mind that calculates needs somewhere it does not have to calculate."
But usually people like this, the architects, the stabilizers,
Yeah.
they don't ask for help.
Never.
In fact, if you ask them if they need help, they usually get super annoyed.
They get defensive because to ask for help is to admit there's a crack in the structure.
And if there's a crack, the whole thing might come down.
Exactly. So they isolate. They lock themselves in the tower.
Which brings us to the counterforce in this dynamic.
Yeah.
Enter Marceline.
Yes. And this is where the deep dive gets really interesting because Marceline represents the complete antithesis of that structural burden.
Yeah, the text makes a really sharp contrast in how the world treats Bonnibel versus how Marceline treats her.
Mm-hmm.
It says the world approaches Bonnibel as a subject or responsibility.
Think about it. Everyone who talks to Bonnibel wants something. Princess, fix this. Princess, save me. Princess, what are the rules?
It's purely transactional.
Completely. To the world, she's a function. She's the utility company.
Right.
If the lights go out, you call her. If the lights are on, you ignore her. But Marceline,
Yeah.
the text says explicitly, Marceline does not need Bonnibel to perform competence.
There's that phrase again. Performing competence.
It's huge.
Can we unpack that?
Mhm.
Because I think a lot of listeners might really recognize that feeling, even if they aren't ruling a kingdom.
It's the uniform you wear that gets fused to your skin.
Wow, yeah.
It's the feeling that you must control model intelligence at all times. If you slip, if you say, I don't know, or if you cry in front of your team, you feel like you've completely failed.
It's almost like imposter syndrome, but the reverse.
How do you mean?
Like, it's not, I'm afraid they'll find out I'm a fraud. It's more like I'm afraid they'll find out I'm human.
That is a brilliant way to put it. Yes, and Marceline cuts right through that.
Mm-hmm.
The text notes that Marceline already knows Bonnibel is powerful. She's seen it. She doesn't need a demonstration.
So she's not impressed by the crown. She's not impressed by the science lab.
Not even a little bit. And because she isn't looking for a leader, she is free to actually see the person.
Right.
When Marceline offers care, the source defines it not as correction, but as relief.
Relief. Just hearing that word makes my shoulders drop a little bit.
It's powerful.
But how is that different from correction in this context?
Okay, imagine you're overwhelmed with work.
Easy enough.
If I come over and say, hey, move over, let me fix that spreadsheet for you, you're doing it the hard way. That's correction.
Got it.
I'm implying you're failing and I'm stepping in to fix it.
Which, for an architect like Bonnibel, is the ultimate insult.
Exactly.
Like, I don't need you to fix it. I literally built the spreadsheet.
Right. But relief is walking in, seeing the stress and saying, hey, sit down. You don't have to solve this right this second. Just sit.
The text actually gives this internal dialogue to Marceline.
Mm-hmm.
It says, you don't have to manage me right now. You don't have to solve anything.
You don't have to manage me. Imagine how radical that sounds to someone who manages entire civilizations.
It must be shocking. It's like hearing a language you haven't spoken in decades.
It's completely disarming. And the source lists what Marceline does not offer, which is honestly just as important as what she does offer.
Okay, what doesn't she offer?
She offers not admiration, not dependency, and not expectation.
Wow, that's the trifecta of what leaders usually get constantly.
Right.
Admiration, which is isolating because it puts you on a pedestal. Dependency, which is draining because you're carrying someone else.
Yeah.
And expectation, which is just pure pressure.
Marceline strips all of that away. She offers presence,
Huh?
just being there.
Yeah.
It's the ability to sit in a room with someone and require absolutely nothing from them, to let them simply exist without having to be the primordial mother.
But here's the thing I got stuck on when reading the background on these two characters.
What's that?
On the surface, they're total opposites.
Yeah.
Bonnibel is order, science, pink bubblegum.
Mm-hmm.
Marceline is a vampire. She's chaos. She's darkness. She plays bass guitar.
Yeah.
Why is the chaos vampire the one uniquely suited to heal the architect?
That's the genius of the pairing, according to this analysis. It's not about power. Marceline isn't trying to conquer the strong leader.
Right.
It comes from a place of deep recognition. The text says Marceline understands exhaustion.
He's immortal, right? She's lived 1,000 years.
She has. She's seen civilizations rise and fall. She understands the long game.
Yeah.
The text says she understands loneliness masked by strength. Marceline sees past the lab coat and recognizes the isolation because she's lived it herself.
The notes describe her love as intuitive rather than strategic. Bonnibel is the strategic one. She's playing 4D chess. Marceline is, well, she's just jamming.
She's sensing the rhythm. The source says Marceline recognizes the tension in Bonnibel before anyone else even notices the danger.
Wow.
She reads the microexpressions. She hears the shift in tone of voice.
It's that feeling when your partner walks in the room and just knows you've had a bad day before you even say hello, even if you're smiling.
Yes. And her internal sentiment is, I know how hard you work. You don't have to be invincible with me.
You don't have to be invincible with me. That feels like the key to the lock.
Yeah.
Because invincibility is a really lonely place to be.
It is a prison. If you have to be invincible, you can never be fully human.
Right.
And notice that Marceline isn't trying to change Bonnibel. She isn't saying, stop being the architect. Stop doing science. Come hang out in a cave with me forever.
Right. She's not saying quit your job.
No. She is offering a safe harbor, a temporary autonomous zone where the laws of leadership just don't apply.
Yeah.
You can just be Bonnibel, and I will stay.
And I will stay. That's a huge promise.
Especially for Bonnibel, because leaders are so used to people leaving.
Oh, absolutely.
People leave because they can't handle the pressure or because they got what they needed and moved on.
Or in Bonnibel's case, she probably pushes them away to protect them.
Exactly. So Marceline promises presence without conditions.
So let's play this out. When this happens, when the architect finally puts down the blueprint and rests inside this relief, what does that actually do?
Mm-hmm.
Does it make Bonnibel weaker? Does she lose her edge?
This is where the source material gets really philosophical, and I love it. It argues that this exchange causes the roles to dissolve entirely.
Okay.
It's not a power swap. Bonnibel doesn't lose power. The text says she gains balance.
Balance. Because a structure that's too rigid breaks in the wind.
Exactly. Engineering 101. If you don't have flex, you shatter.
Yeah.
By accepting softness, she actually becomes more sustainable as a leader. She recharges the battery.
In Marceline,
She doesn't become superior just because she's the one doing the holding. She becomes steady.
I really like that reframing.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people, especially the stabilizers listening right now, view needing care as a defect.
They do.
They think if I stop, I'm failing.
And the source challenges that directly. It
Yeah.
argues that nurturing flows both ways. It says sometimes the one who appears strongest needs the deepest rest.
Right.
That isn't a flaw in the system. It's a requirement of the system.
And conversely,
Sometimes the one who has known abandonment learns to become the safe place.
that's Marceline. She has a massive history of abandonment.
Huge history. Her dad, Simon, everyone left her. For her to become the safe place, the steady rock for someone else is a tremendous evolution.
Yeah, she isn't just the chaotic vampire anymore. She is the anchor.
So it's beneficial for both of them. It's not charity. It's not Marceline fixing Bonnibel.
No. The expert synthesis in the text calls this integration.
Yes,
It says they're not reversing roles, they're completing a circuit.
completing a circuit. I absolutely love that imagery, like electricity.
Think about it.
Yeah.
You need the positive and the negative. You need the output and the input.
Right.
If the energy only goes out, if it's only output per output, the battery dies.
Completely.
The text lists these pairings that represent the completion of that circuit. Strength meeting softness, structure meeting sincerity, containment meeting relief.
Containment meeting relief. That sums it up so perfectly.
It really does.
Bonnibel is the container. Marceline is the relief. And you can't have one without the other for very long.
Not if you want to survive anyway.
Right. If you have containment without relief, you have an explosion. That's just physics.
Yeah.
If you have structure without sincerity, you have a bureaucracy, not a life. This relationship works because it integrates these opposing forces into a whole. Both characters become more whole because of it.
It really makes you rethink the strong friend trope.
Oh, definitely.
We always check on the people who are visibly struggling.
Yeah.
The ones who are crying or the ones who are posting sad lyrics online.
Yeah.
We rarely check on the people who seem to have everything perfectly under control.
Because we assume they're fine. We assume the primordial mother figure is just entirely self-sustaining.
Right.
But this text is a stark reminder that the person planning 10 moves ahead is often the one most starved of softness.
They're the ones who need a space where they don't have to calculate.
And it's a radical act to provide that space. To just look at someone who is running the world or running the household or running the department and say, hey, you can just sit down here. I'm not asking for anything.
And to actually mean it. To offer presence, not expectation. That is the highest form of nurturing described here.
Absolutely.
So let's bring this back to the listener. What does this all mean for you outside of the land of Ooh? How do you apply this?
I think it's a call to audit your relationships. First, look at yourself.
Okay.
If you are the stabilizer, the one everyone calls to fix the Wi-Fi and the emotional crises, you need to ask, where is your relief?
Where's the room where you take off the uniform?
Exactly. Where can you go where you don't have to perform competence? And if you can't find that place, you need to find your Marceline.
And what if you aren't the stabilizer?
Then look for the architect in your life. Look for the person who seems invincible, the one you've never seen cry, and realize that their invincibility is a job. It's not a biological trait.
They might be waiting for someone to offer them relief instead of asking for more management.
It might be as simple as sitting with them and not asking them to make a single decision.
No questions.
Right? Not asking what's for dinner or what's the plan, just being.
That idea of integration is really sticking with me. It's not about being one thing or the other. It's about the flow between them.
Yeah.
Strength needs softness to sustain itself.
And softness needs strength to be safe. It is the literal completion of the circuit.
Well, this has been a surprisingly emotional deep dive into what I initially thought was just a character study. But that's the beauty of these archetypes, right? They just mirror us.
They give us a language for things we feel but haven't articulated. The internal starvation of softness is something I think many high performers feel but have never named.
And now they have a name for it.
And hopefully a strategy to address it. Or rather, an intuition to address it.
Indeed. We're going to wrap it up there. But I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over today.
Let's hear it.
We talked about nurturing as completing a circuit rather than a service provided to the weak. So look around your circle. Who in your life is starved of softness simply because they look like they have everything under control? And what would happen if you just offered them presence?
Just presence.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you on the next one.